should be live.
Yep.
I wish there was a way. How does your audio sound?
Do you have two mics on?
Yes.
Okay, because I can hear you twice, basically. You're like echoed.
What about now? I turned your mic down a little bit. I think your mic was picking me up.
Alright, I hear you better.
What about you? You've also got to speak up a little bit.
Yeah, I can barely hear me, though.
Try, just for now, try doing it with holding the mic.
Okay.
And every time you speak, just put it up to your mouth, see if that helps.
Alright. We'll see if that works. It's a lot more delayed today than it was the others.
Yeah. Well, I've got it on the delay. Alright. So let's go ahead and get started, though. We are on day 2 of our Laugh to Live series. That's the book that my dad wrote. So we got that right here. This is the Laugh to Live. We started with chapter 1 last week.
Yes, we did.
And so now we are moving on to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is called Attitude. And so the first part, resolve says, I will. The man says, I will climb this mountain. They told me it is too high, too far, too steep, too rocky, and too difficult. But it's my mountain. I will climb it. You will soon see me waving from the top, or dead on the side from trying. And that is a quote from Jim Rohn. I've never actually heard of Jim Rohn, but yeah, we'll have to look him up and see who Jim Rohn is.
Yeah.
This is R-O-H-N for his last name. Alright, so after the quote, moving on to the meat of the chapter. How are you doing? You'd be amazed at the myriad of different replies I get to that question, whether asked to a group or an individual. Everything from great or awesome to a mumbled, Now you need to realize that when most people ask, how are you doing, they honestly don't really care. At least not about the details. And think about it. Do they really want to know that your in-laws are in town, your dog ate the remote, that's funny, because Crypto does that all the time, or that your kids moved back home? In most cases, no. They don't, nor, when asked, do you want to have to think about your reply. Therefore, I have the perfect response to the question, how are you doing? I use it every time, whether the question is asked by a friend or passing stranger. I simply reply, with gusto, unbelievable. So once again, I use it every time, whether the question is asked by a friend or passing stranger, how are you doing? I simply reply with, unbelievable. That's a pretty interesting response. And he actually goes into detail. I was about to say why he said it, but he actually goes into detail about why he said what he said. And then we're going to hear the next part from Dylan.
Alright. First, you don't have to think about it. How are you doing? Are you having a good day? No matter what's going on with you, it's unbelievable. Unbelievably good or unbelievably bad. It doesn't matter, it's still unbelievable. That reply also satisfies the questioner. and they will almost always assume the positive. So next time your coworker, the checkout cashier, or a relative asks you, how are you doing? Just give them a rousing, unbelievable, and keep on walking. Now let's talk about attitude. I said earlier that your choices are a direct result of your attitude. The American Heritage Dictionary defines attitude as a position of the body or manner of carrying oneself, a state of mind, or feeling with regard to something or someone. Strangely, more often than not, having an attitude is viewed with a negative connotation, as in, that kid has an attitude, or in the language of the street, don't be copping no tude, man. I prefer to look at attitude as not only a good thing, but a necessary thing. In fact, my most important choice is in regard to my attitude. I choose to have a positive attitude. I took the following note on attitude a long time ago, but failed to write down the source. So in using it here, I invoke what I call the writer's rule of research. That means if you steal from one source, it's plagiarism, but if you steal from many, it's research. Okay, my research shows the following. Attitude, more than aptitude, determines altitude. Read that out loud. Write it down, post it in a conspicuous place, and then live it. Or live it. Hundreds of people with an aptitude for success fail every day because they do not have an attitude for success.
Very nice. We're going to reiterate that one part that he says to read it out loud, write it down, and post it in a conspicuous place. So he says, my research shows the following. Attitude, more than aptitude, determines altitude. We're going to say that one more time. Attitude, more than aptitude, determines altitude. So, again, let's turn to the American Heritage Dictionary, this time for a definition of aptitude. A natural or acquired talent or ability. Back in 1996, as a part of my Humor in the Workplace course for Lockheed Martin, I gave the class homework. Now, while most of it involved the use of humor, the most important exercise involved aptitude versus attitude. I simply asked each participant to come back the next week and relate one experience in their life where they had accomplished something as a result of their attitude, when they or others did not think that they had the necessary aptitude. I ask you to take a few moments and also play this game. It can be something simple or a major event. Now, when I first played the game myself, I came up with several, which I will relate here by way of example. From the time I was 8 or 9 years old, I was on the community swimming team. Pages are stuck together. I never missed an early morning practice or a meet, but I never came in first in any individual event. And then when I was 14, we had an all-day event at the community pool, including various pool activities. One of the contests was an underwater swim, simply who could swim the furthest in one breath. Now our pool was 25 yards long, and by the time it was my turn, the leader, which was one of our top medal winners and the expected winner of this event, had swam 2 lengths up and back without coming up for air. He popped up at the end, smiled and waved, as the community rewarded him with gracious applause. As my group stepped to the edge of the pool, most people's attention was on the perceived winner. As I stood next to my best friend Skip and filled my lungs as best as I could, an idea occurred to me. I would just refuse to surface until I had gone beyond 2 lengths. Now, understand, I don't think I had ever swum for underwater distance before, and at most, I had held my breath for 1 length of the pool during a freestyle race. Here I was, in hindsight, making a slight attitude adjustment. I could, and would, stay under until I won. That single event is as clear to me now as if it had happened yesterday. We're switching back to Dilly.
Alright. As I made the turn after 1 length and headed back, a strange calm came over me. Without panic, I glided back to the starting end, made the turn, pushed off, swam a few more strokes, and emerged about halfway back to the far end. My friend Skip, thinking that short distance was all that I had swam, asked, "What happened, man?" With a dumbfound look, I said, "I think I won." I never did win any individual swimming medal, but for the moment, I was the Bon Air Virginia underwater swimming champion. I had experienced the power of an attitude for success. There have been other such attitude victories since. At all of 118 pounds in high school, I had the choice of being skinny or weary. The naysayers would have me be the skinny kid on the sideline, but I chose to be weary, accepted the nickname Flea, and lettered in 4 sports. Friends and advisors told me that I probably could not get into the Naval Academy because my father was only a high school graduate working for the railroad. And we didn't know anybody important. Again, an attitude for success drove me to write the letters, make the calls, and knock on the doors necessary to secure my appointment. In 1996, co-workers and friends said that a major corporation like Lockheed Martin would never allow a course in its professional training curriculum called Humor in the Workplace. So never having taught, much less developed any sort of training, I put together a course outline. I convinced the training director to run a trial offering, presented the course to 26 mid to senior level executives, and went on to teach the course for several years as offered in the official Lockheed Martin training curriculum. Attitude, attitude, attitude.
Very nice. Attitude, attitude, attitude. So attitude must be driven from within. It must come from self-motivation. Do not wait to be moved by a book or a speaker. Although I do hope this book will provide a jump start if required, another speaker long ago said, "What if you wait for someone to come along and motivate you, and they never show up?" Let's read that one more time, because that's pretty significant. Another speaker long ago said, "What if you wait for someone to come along and motivate you, and they never show up?" That gave me goosebumps. Motivation does not come first. Successful people know that productive action must come first. You have to prime your pump. Start whether you feel like it or not. That does not mean that you should not surround yourself with positive people and positive books. You are, after all, what you eat, mentally, as well as physically. And you are who you hang with. But in the end, a positive attitude leading to positive choices must come from within.
That's so true.
Alright, so that is the end of chapter 2.
It is.
Next week, let me see real quick. You know what? Let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and go through chapter 3, actually, because it's only 1, 2, 3 pages long. So we'll go ahead and we're just going to go through chapter 3 today as well. So I'll read the first 2 pages, and then we'll have you finish it out. So chapter 3 is called Like Yourself. The Little League World Series is played every fall. It's a lot like the Major League World Series, except that the players are smaller and more mature. That was written by Unknown. It's a quote by Unknown. Now, let's play a game. No, don't look around for the handle. We're not going to plug ourselves into anything electronic. Those of you my age still remember games that required only the power of your mind and body. I'm sure you've heard the expression, you don't stop playing because you grow old. You grow old because you stop playing. Well, this is a simple mind game for which you will need a partner and no electronics. Now, I learned this several years ago at a humor seminar sponsored by the Humor Project from Matt Weinstein, an incredibly energetic play consultant and speaker, founder of Emperor of Playfair Incorporated. This was one of his many interactive games, and one which I have adopted and incorporated into my seminars. I chose this particular game because it facilitates one of my basic beliefs about attitude. In order to have a positive attitude for success, you must first like yourself. Give yourself a hug. Therefore, you must know in detail all of the things that you like about yourself. Why not have some fun and share this discovery process with a friend? So, sit facing each other and look steadily into the eyes of your partner. Decide who will be number one and who will be number two. Now, number one will time the first exercise for 1 minute. When he or she says go, he, generically speaking, looks at number two and says, "What do you like about yourself?" Number two must immediately respond with something, perhaps, "I dress cool." Whatever the response, number one says, "That's great. What else do you like about yourself?" Number two must immediately respond with a different reply. For example, let's see, "I shower regularly. Good hygiene, I guess." Again, number one says, "That's great. What else do you like about yourself?" Take it away, Dylan.
This gives and takes continues, and this give and take continues for a full minute. You can see that the responder will very quickly run out of surface, egocentric replies, and must dig deeper for the meat of their self-appreciation. If at any time number two cannot immediately reply with a different like, they must stand up, throw their hands in the air, and shout everything. At which point, number one calmly says, "That's great. What else do you like about yourself?" I'm sure that you have guessed by now that after the initial minute's exchange, the roles are reversed and number two becomes the questioner. While this simple game is fun and beneficial for two players, you can imagine a room full of partners going at it at the same time, with periodic shouts of everything. Finally, long after you've stopped laughing and have caught your breath, please spend a little more time completing your list of things you like about yourself. Armed with the... I can't talk. Armed with that insight, you are ready to face life with an attitude for success.
All right. So we went ahead and just did that one because it was a pretty short chapter. That doesn't mean that it's not as important as the other chapters. It was just, I feel like it would be kind of a waste of time next week to just do 3 pages for for our week's reading. But next week we're going into chapter 4, which is called "Life Ain't Always Easy." So that is what we have in store for us next week. We did have a little mishap with our live stream yesterday, which those of you that tried to pop in for our Bible reading yesterday, you'll notice that we weren't here.
Unfortunately.
That is hopefully never going to happen again. We're going to try to have them actually planned out a little bit better. It just so happened that we forgot that we had a family Christmas, a belated family Christmas get-together yesterday. And we didn't have time, by the time it kind of came together, we didn't have time to change the live stream. So what we're going to do instead this week is we're going to, tomorrow morning, not too early, probably about like 8:30, 9 o'clock, we'll be on here to do week 2 of Bible reading, which I think we're on chapter like 4 or something in the book of Genesis.
I think so, yeah.
Somewhere around there.
I have it written down in my notes.
Oh, gotcha. So we'll be jumping on for that tomorrow morning.
And as for this particular, for chapter 4 for the Laugh to Live series, we'll be back here again next Monday at 8 o'clock, hopefully at 8 o'clock on the dot. We're still figuring out and learning how to use OBS, so bear with us. It is a very intricate program. It took me a half an hour just to get the audio working properly. So, with that, we are going to call it for tonight. Thank you for anybody that came out and joined us live, and thank you for anybody that checked out the stream just in its recorded setting. And we'll see you guys